位觀眾，你哋好，我係秦已經。多倫多市選咧已經嚟到白熱化嘅階段啦。我哋今日咧就會去到 Tory 嘅記者會，睇下佢有咩講，同埋一陣間咧佢會同我傾下有關佢個人啦，同埋佢啲政綱嘅問題。你哋有幾認識 Tory 咧？佢本身咧就係一個律師，喺80年代咧就喺飛街一間好出名嘅律師樓嗰度做合夥人。佢亦都係好多政治人物幕後嘅策劃嘅人嚟嘅。例如係想當年嘅安省省長 Premier Davis 啦，同埋甚至到多倫多前市長賴士文咧，佢都有幫過佢嘅競選。但係佢本身咧就從來咧都冇出嚟參選過，或者係當過一啲政治嘅任何嘅position 嘅。佢喺參選之前咧，佢就係一間好大嘅 cable 公司嘅總裁。有好多人咧就批評話佢係一個咁右派同埋保守派嘅背景咧，佢係唔係好認識多倫多市一啲貧窮嘅問題。但係 Tory 同我傾嘅時候咧，就話對佢嚟講，喺呢個市最重要嘅問題，目前面對嘅就係貧窮嘅問題。我哋聽下佢依家點講。
Mrs. Tory, you are not a household name in a lot of our viewers in our community. Apart from the fact that we know you've been a lawyer at a Street firm, you were executive at Rogers, what else can you really tell us about John Tory?
Well, I'm a husband of 25 years with my wife, Barbara. I'm a father of 4 children, 3 of whom have left to go to university, and in fact one has already graduated now. I'm a person who's been very active in the community. I've been the head of United Way and very involved with United Way for a decade. For the same 10-year period, I've been the head fundraiser for St. Michael's Hospital in downtown Toronto. I've been involved with many, many other organizations, whether it was the Canadian Football League or Community Living Toronto, which helps developmentally handicapped people. So I've been very, very involved in my community. I like to do things on weekends just like other people do. I love to go to restaurants in the city, go to concerts, play golf. I play tennis, I ski. So people often think that somehow politicians or those who want to be in politics are different. They're really not. I live a life like most other people. I've been very lucky in my life, but otherwise I probably care about many of the same things that the people watching care about, and really want to try and make a difference in the city for a brief period of time.
I guess that needs to be my next question. A lot of people, I would say, some may even be a little bit surprised that you've decided to go to politics now at this particular time. And why municipal? Why a change in career? Is it because of the problems going on at Rogers, the succession problems at the board? You name it, a lot of speculation out there.
Yeah.
And why municipal? Why not provincial? Maybe even federal with the new right-wing coalition forming?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I mean, I was a very valued executive at Rogers, and they sort of pleaded with me to stay when I announced I was going to leave and go into politics, so there was no issue at Rogers. If I wanted to keep my job there indefinitely, I could have done so. I think that for me, it was a good time personally to go into politics because my children were a bit older than they had been before, obviously. It was a good time personally in terms of my age. I'm 49 years old, and it's a good time, I think, to do this kind of thing in your life for a while. And I've said very clearly I only want to be in politics for 6 years if I can get elected twice. And so then I'll be in my mid-50s and still able to have one more career, probably in business or in the media or something before I retire. And I guess when you say why municipally, I came to the conclusion that there were problems in the city. I loved Toronto. I've lived here my whole life. I thought that there was a big difference that I could make with my business background and with my understanding of the community from my charity work and so on. And I felt as well, to be frank, that I could do that at home. You know, if you go into federal politics, you have to leave home. You're going to Ottawa, and you're all over the country all the time. If you go into provincial politics, you're all over the place. Whereas in Toronto, you can do something that makes a difference in your own community. And the issues I find very interesting.
The issues seem interesting to you, but the voter turnout generally in municipal elections are way lower than the state or provincial or the federal level. Wouldn't you think you could do more at the level, provincially at least,
I don't think so.
Bigger issues.
I mean, I think that the big issues that people are concerned about right now are things like affordable housing. They're very concerned about childcare. And while these issues, I think one of the problems we go through in this country too often is we sort of talk about a given issue being the responsibility of one government or another. In fact, the way we've set up our system, right or wrong, all of these issues probably involve all of the governments. And the more they started to work in partnership together, something that I'm very committed to doing, I think we'd actually get more done. And I think to put somebody like me in as the mayor of Toronto at the City Hall, working together with McGinty and Queen's Park, and Paul Martin and Ottawa will actually help to produce more results for people, which is really why I'm running.
Well, now that you've talked about the different levels of government, you also recognize the fact that there's no this channel created formally that is between the city and the federal level. Paul Martin has always talked about some sort of a new deal with the cities, and so have you. How do you expect that to be done? Do you expect that would be an easy job to be done, getting money from the federal government? A lot of downloading has taken place in the last few years, and now our finance minister has said that we are, the only G7 nation who has such a high surplus. That's only because a lot of downloading has been done, federally and then state. Do you think that will be an easy task?
I don't think it'll be easy, but I think that what is happening is that the federal government, Mr. Martin, the new Prime Minister who's going to come into office soon, the provincial government, Mr. McGinty, the new Premier, have both recognized the need to invest in cities, and they've said so, and they've said it over and over again. And I think that's encouraging. So I don't think it's going to be easy to get all of the money we need, but I think it is going to be easier than it was before. What I've been saying is that the one thing we have to do to make sure we make it as easy as possible is to manage our own affairs better so that people can see this city is better run. We've stopped wasting taxpayers' money on ridiculous things. And so I think that will give a greater level of confidence to the other levels of government. They can help Toronto and invest in Toronto without fear that the money is going to be wasted. So I intend to have a very civilized and productive relationship, a partnership with the other levels of government. And I think if we act that way, we have every reason to believe they will invest in Toronto because it's good for them and it's good for Canadians.
Now, you've mentioned a lot of issues that were on your platform, the garbage incineration, you've mentioned replacing the traffic lights, you've mentioned rebuilding our city. How can we actually really do that and yet be able to find the money to do it? Because rebuilding takes a lot of money. And the city has been so much taxed already.
Well, I'll say three things about that. The first is that some of that money obviously has to come from the other levels of government through the New Deal that we've just been discussing, and I think they've indicated an intention to send a lot more money to the city to help us. The second thing is that I am not averse to looking at using the private sector's money to help make some of these things happen. So if you said to me, would I rule out the possible partnership with the private sector to build more transit for the city, I'd say no, I would not rule it out. I want the TTC to own it, and I want the TTC to operate it. If you said to me, would I let the private sector build it and pay for it in return for having the right to do some development in the city, depending on reasonable terms, the answer is no, I would not rule that out. I'd specifically encourage that. And the third thing we have to do, and I think this is something that's very much on my plate to deal with as the mayor, is we have to cut the waste from the taxpayers' money. It's not waste in the sense that people are deliberately going down to City Hall and finding ways to kind of earn money. They're just not running the government as well as they can. They're just not cutting out a lot of the bureaucracy and paperwork that drive people crazy and that costs us a lot of money. I'm very determined to drive that out of City Hall and make the place run better.
We have very little time left, but I'd just like to close by asking, which is the single most important issue to you? One issue that you have to take.
The single most important issue is the poverty, the disadvantage, the despair that is growing up in probably 15, 20 neighborhoods in our city, and the fact that a lot of those neighborhoods are populated by people who are new to the country, and we simply have to attack that with vigor. All of the communities, business, labor, the academic community, to say these are people who are citizens just like everybody else. They deserve a fair chance. They're people who can contribute to this community in many different ways. We've got to make sure they have the programs to help them get on their feet and contribute what they can and be treated in the manner that we would expect people to be treated in this city.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.